Hi everyone, my name is Robert and welcome back to the channel. Today we're looking at the Feiyu Scorp Mini, but first things first, let's see what you can do. So this is really not a technical review, it's more my thoughts on what I think of the gimbal. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to give you a bit of background on my shooting style. So when I first started shooting video, I started using gimbals, tripods, and then slowly moved on to handheld video, which, you know, cages, no top handles, just straight body and lens handheld video. I've got some B-roll here, so you kind of can see me kind of doing a few bits and pieces and see me working with literally just a body and lens. I still use gimbals, but that's more for like really long form establishing shots, stuff like that. But mainly I'm moving more over to handheld. So Feiyu reached out to me and asked if I want to have a look at the gimbal, leave my feedbacks and thoughts on the channel. So I said, yeah, why not? So I got the gimbal in, and then first things first, I thought, ooh, this looks a little bit small, a little bit not what I'll use it for. I haven't got any really small cameras, so I have the XH2S, which I'm filming at the moment, and I have the A7 III, which you guys know about. And I looked at this gimbal and thought this is more for like GoPro, mobile phones, and maybe even like, you know, small point and shoots like the ZV-10 or something like that. But I didn't think it would really work for this. But I said, you know what? It looks small, but let's give it a try. So anyway, I started with the XH2. I started with the 23mm 1.4. Done quite a lot of shots. Gimbal was really nice, very stable, easy to set up. And then I decided, you know what? Let's put on the 56mm and see how we get on. And this is the part where I was quite shocked. You usually find if you've got a 56mm lens and you're shooting, you have to keep very still. You don't really do a lot of moves. You can't really do a lot of pans. You find a lot of gimbals are very jerky. They do, but I found this gimbal was really, you know, really coped with that longer focal length. It coped really well. As you see some of this footage here, it's all shot in the 56mm, and it really, you know, it's the first time I had such a long lens and could manage it quite that well. And I'm a bit rusty with gimbals, you know, because gimbal's not my first thing. So I thought, you know, this gimbal is all right. It's actually doing quite well, and actually, from that point, I took this thing seriously. I was like, before it was a little bit of a toy. So I took this gimbal a lot more seriously, and I started looking at, you know, what I liked about the gimbal. And I think what it is the way it works, the way it sits in my hand, the way the top part rests against the crease of my hand, the way I think it's a roll arm is closer to my wrist as well, and I think that just makes it easier and more controllable in the weight as well. I think sometimes you've got heavy gimbals, and it's good to be heavy, but for me, the lightness works better for me because I'm used to lighter setups. I felt that worked better for me. I fell in love with this gimbal, but there are some cons to it, and this gimbal's not for everybody. So, you know, I think con number one is the size. It's meant for smaller cameras, not the big cameras. And when you put something like a XH2S and even like that 23, you're on the upper limits of it. So the roll arms are at their maximum limit. You couldn't really get any more weight on there unless you start using weights, and to me that's more extra stuff to be carrying. So it is at its limit when you're using like a big size mirrorless camera. The smaller cameras like the XS20, the M50, stuff like that, you'll get them on there, no problem. Secondly, the scorp handle, the tail on the back of the camera, it's so fitty. I think because the gimbal's so small and I've got big hands, I'm touching all sort of buttons. I'm touching these two side buttons here. It's really tight. I'm holding it with 3 fingers. So that scorp handles. I don't know if they could redesign it better because it gives you access to some of the controls on the top. It's like a suitcase handle, but at the same breath, I find it a bit small, and it makes the overall package bigger anyway. So it's kind of like I'm not sure. I think it would have been better if they kind of pushed it right down. Maybe just had the wrist rest and had the controls maybe sitting on the top. Also, the gimbal is a bit plasticky, ain't gonna lie. It's a little bit. When I first picked it up, I thought it felt a bit toyish. But you know, the con to that, the pro to that is the weight. The weight now, I think when I fly that gimbal, it is really, really good. Also, the quick release plate, it isn't like once you release the camera from the quick release plate, you're gonna have to rebalance that axis. And what I find is that if you want to whip up the camera for a few pictures and put it back on, you're gonna have to rebalance it. That's a more time consuming process. Whereas you can get gimbals that got quick release plates that you just clip back on. But this one, it's part of the balancing process, so you have to rebalance the plate. I have got a little workaround with a Feiyu F38. You can literally just take out the quick release plate because it's that Arca Swiss plate and slide that in. Now it's a little bit of a hack, so it doesn't fit perfectly. So sometimes if you've got a heavier camera, it will balance. It'll be half the plate will be sitting on the gimbal and half won't. But if you tighten it, it should be fine. I've used it a couple of times now, and it's worked fine. So and then you can just literally just whip off the camera and use it, and you know, and then just use a quick release and click it back on. So you can have some gimbals that are really complex to set up. Like say I had my last gimbal before this was the Feiyu Weeble S. And you could adjust each axis separately, whereas this one you've just got fast, medium, and slow on all axes. But for me, it worked fine. You know, I didn't have no problem. I didn't have to adjust nothing, and it done everything I needed to do. So I find that this system worked better for me. It's less fiddling around. I just want to get on and do some work rather than be fighting with gimbals. So I find this system works for me. So I really would like to try out the Scorp C and see if that has got the same sort of feel and algorithms for the gimbal. Yeah, so kind of just to sum up, I love this gimbal. I like this gimbal so much. I actually went out and bought the Sigma 18-50 just to use this gimbal on more works. And since I've bought that lens, I've used it on 2 shoots, no problems, works beautifully. So it's a kind of a bit of a credit to the gimbal that, you know, something I thought was a bit toyish is actually now part of my workflow when shooting video. But obviously, as I kind of say, it's not for everybody. I think it's a very good first gimbal. So if you're coming to market for a gimbal and you've got like a small point and shoot camera, it will work for you. If you've got like as a second gimbal, like if you've got a big gimbal and you've got this one as a small gimbal and carry lighter paint rolls, it will work for you. But if you've got like me, if you've got bigger cameras, I wouldn't use it as my only gimbal. Anyway, guys, I'm gone. See you later. Peace.